If you've been following Guilty Gear Strive at all, you've probably seen some tweets like this, hinting at the imbalance of Season 4 Guilty Gear Strive. Okay, after more time with the Strive changes, this is unfortunately maybe the worst patch of all time. This game is a Kisege all across, and more importantly, these RAM changes are a complete joke. And we got this tweet too. I got really close to reinstalling Strive to try Dizzy, then I watched Diaphone fight Season 4 Goldlewis. Thank you for your sacrifice, King. I don't even remember when this happened. I think it just blocked it out of my memory. However, I don't think it's all doom and gloom just yet, but I want to back this up with evidence. And for Exhibit A, I asked several top Guilty Gear Strive players for their preliminary tier list. Because we're only 2 weeks in, and tier lists are kind of hard to make when you're only 2 weeks into a game, especially with such wide-ranging balanced applications, I did say the people that made these tier lists can stay 100% anonymous. These are top players. We have an Evo champ. We have 2 qualifiers for the Arc Real World Tour. Trust me, very good players made these tier lists, right? And what I'm actually really interested in seeing is not like who's at the top, who's at the bottom, because those are pretty consistent, but the variability between tier lists, right? So if a game is truly broken, you would expect to see a tier list like this, right? Where you have a character in the tippy top, and then you have the mountain you can't climb, the river you can't cross, or you'd at least expect to see the same character at the top of every tier list. And if you take a look at these tier lists, right? So we have Ram at the top, now we have Sin, now we have Goldlewis, now we have Ram, now we have Ram, right? But as you can see, like, there's some variability. Even the last character, right? We have Zado, we have Axel, we have Dizzy, we have Zado. There's a lot of variability here, right? And so I want to talk about some of the characters that have the most variability and some of the standout characters that I see on this list that maybe their placement is surprising, right? We all know why Ram, Goldlewis, and Sin are at the top. So let's talk about them real quick. All right, so here's a tweet by Hook and Gang. I was generally gonna give this game a try, never mind, and let's see what happens, right? So so this is actually a glitch, to be fair, and they're actually gonna patch this out actually pretty soon. This is confirmed, but yeah, right now if you hit her out of the sword still comes out. This is like a bunch of balance related changes, and this is like a confirmed like glitch that the sword and the explosion attacks from Ramlethal Banjo still trigger even when Ramlethal takes damage, which is pretty nice. Yeah, this will be patched out, but talking to some of the top players that send me these tier lists, Ram's placement won't actually change that much because of this, right? So Ramlethal has a few other things going for her besides the glitch. Specifically, this sword toss by itself is just insane, right? Strike throw in this game isn't considered to be super strong because, you know, throws don't actually do that much damage, right? You just get a little bit extra damage, and you can mash out of them, right? Which is really scary. But Ramlethal strike throw with her sword toss is insanely strong because the idea is once you do the sword toss, you're guaranteed a strike throw. As you see, Goldlewis like reels back, which means that you have a throw potential, which they literally cannot match. This is guaranteed. And the only thing they can do is tech, right? And if they tech, you whiff your throw. Like if, for example, I'm just running up and then dashing back, you whiff your throw and you die. You literally die. And the main downside on this change is that, you know, it takes a little bit of time for your sword to come back, but you still have sword tosses, which means you have 2 guaranteed strike throws, and that'll kill enough time for your other sword to get back, right? So her pressure is considered to be a lot better because unlike her sword pressure before, now it works mid-screen. This has so much blocks that I keep doing my throw too early. That's how insanely good this is. And the other really cracked thing is they buffed her 214K, and now this is actually -10 on block. It might seem like a disadvantage, but it's a 21 frame overhead, which is really hard to react to. This is also a 21 frame overhead, so they occur on the exact same frame. And how many people block this on reaction? Not very many, which means now you have 2 overheads to worry about. And with RC or with the sword toss, so for example, when you're backing up with a sword toss, you just throw this. Yeah, you basically sword toss, guess high low if you can't react, and you know, you get a wall break. So yeah, people consider Ram to be very strong for these reasons. Now Goldlewis, all I probably have to do is type in Goldlewis into Twitter or find a random Twitter clip and you guys will understand. This is all you need to know about Goldlewis. The fact that he can cancel his behemoth typhoons into another behemoth typhoon. So one, this creates way better pressure sequences for him. It lets him convert off a lot of different things. For example, he can do overhead into overhead into massive damage, absolutely massive damage. Yeah, you're dead. So this character has TODs out the wazoo. This character is absolutely insane. He basically just got buffed to the moon with this change. The other change that is really nice is that the minigun, you don't have to like fully commit to it. So you can just kind of throw it out in zoning. And if you ever see it hits, you just let the whole thing go. I think it's really strong for certain matchups like Dizzy, for example, which you can just kind of like, if you see it hit, like because she's trying to summon, you can fully commit to the minigun and get the hard knockdown and go in. But if you don't, you just poke him a little bit, and now you barely use up any security gauge. Really, really strong change for Goldlewis as well. All right, so Sin's an interesting one. Sin's kind of been all over the tier list, right? So when he first came out, he was pretty bottom tier because his conversion is really bad. Then they buffed his conversions, they buffed his damage, they buffed his everything, and he became top tier, right? Then they removed DPRC, and then he became back to like mid tier-ish, and now he's back to top tier. And for one simple reason is because they kind of reworked this food gauge, or this flag gauge, or whatever you want to call it. He builds it back a little bit slower, but now he gets like full conversions from like anything, right? So for example, his overhead before, this is all you got. You just got like you tapped them a little bit, unless you have RC. Now, yeah, you get a wall break. And you probably built 50 meter by then, so you get super, and then you get positive, and yeah, just kind of all steamrolls from there. So from a practically unreactable overhead, you get a full combo. And same thing from upgun, right? Same exact combo. Yeah, this character is like now basically baby mode. We'll call it it's now called the robbery gauge or the cheating gauge. So that's his big changes. Now he just gets conversions off everything. Usually makes the character pretty good. Now Johnny didn't really get that much, but the thing is, like, compared to some other characters, Johnny got buffed and he was already top tier. Because you know, his mix, his conversions, his probably some of the best throw mix in the game, with throwing the card into 50-50 and all that fun stuff, right? I can't do any of it, but you get the idea. But now this move now does double damage. They literally double the damage of Insignia, which means if you get hit by this, like on counter hit, because you're trying to like tech a throw after this really, really quick step dash, you just die, right? And oh yeah, and his misfire now like cuts projectiles for some reason. So yeah, that's cool. This move's obviously insanely cracked. Only minus 15 on block, which means you're just not punishing from this range. Very, very good character. All right, so that kind of covers the universal top four. Top four. Everyone pretty much has the top four except yeah, this one has Mei in there. And this one has Mei in there, right? So I want to talk about some of the more controversial picks. The ones that stand out to me are like the characters that have a lot of variance, right? So to me, like looking at these tier lists, it's very obvious that, you know, who the top characters are. But the fact that they're still like we're not really 100% sure who the best characters even in that list are, does lead me to believe that there's some decent balance here. And there's also some characters that there's a lot of how I say inconsistency on how these top players place them, right? So a couple that stand out to me are Elphelt and Slayer. So if you look here, so you know, this one has Slayer at 13th, this one has Slayer at 6, this one has Slayer at 5, and you know, top 10, right? So, and same thing with Elphelt. And let's talk about both those characters. I also want to talk about some of the characters near and dear to my heart. Bridget, Eno, and Dizzy. Dizzy I think deserves her own video, but I do think she's quite bad. All right, so the thing about Elphelt, she's insanely strong offensively now, right? So before, like, her reward wasn't the best on some hits. Like before, you would get this and then they would just tech out and you didn't really get a knockdown, right? Now she gets a hard knockdown on her Rekka, which means that you get a mix up after on like any hit, right? Which means you can do stuff like this, go for a cross up, and then you can just keep looping the same sequence. You get the idea. She also has probably one of the best wall break supers in the game right now. So for example, I go for this overhead mix. And these bombs, basically these bombs give you a free mix up. After a few seconds they explode. But the crazy part is that even if the opponent hits you, they stay on. So basically you're like, you can just do whatever the fuck you want for like 5 seconds of Elphelt. You're most likely gonna hit them, and even if they hit you out, like it's still gonna be your turn because the bombs are gonna explode, right? Yeah, so it really is borderline checkmate. It's really, really strong. And like, for example, you just ever do like, yeah, any hit, they explode, they die. Also 6Ps just in general got nerfed, so 6Ps are really strong against Elphelt. So for example, after Elphelt 2H, you can just go into Rekka and they can just 6P'd every time, right? Now, like, compared to her launch version, like you can always go into this bomb. I guess this bomb actually loses to 6P. That's funny. Some characters, their 6P loses here. I guess Slayer is a very privileged character. Their 6P beats both. But you also have other options to beat this, right? You can beat like a delayed wild assault. They die. Yeah, you're right. You can do shit like this, right? So you can recover and then whiff punish the recovery of 6P. Do something like that, right? So there's a few different ways you could deter 6Ps. Yeah, Elphelt's looking quite good this patch. The main issue, and the reason I think some people might like put Elphelt lower, is her neutral's still not the best. She does have this normal. This normal is quite good, but compared to some characters like Johnny, who have the same normal but longer and faster and better conversions, I do understand, you know, why people might throw Elphelt lower. Same, she also has a fireball, but like, it's okay. It doesn't really give you much on hit, and also like she doesn't have the best skip neutral move. She has this move, but it's like it's always unsafe. So yeah, basically still cracked offense. She has really cracked offense now, but her neutral still might suffer, still might hold her back. We're not sure. Is it really safe when spaced? I mean, you have to be like super cracked. Wait, this is +2? Okay, never mind. I guess it can be plus. That's great. All right, Elphelt players probably should be spamming this then. All right, but like, yeah, I guess how good her neutral is in the eye of the beholder, right? But this is a character a lot of people are talking about. Slayer, he hasn't really changed that much. He did get a couple cute things, like for example, he can whiff his 4-6K, go into command grab. The other thing is his Mappa Punch actually spaces out better. Right, so like you can't really like jab him after, right? You're outside of jab range, so you could argue this is like better rock paper scissors. The 6K feint was always there, but it was ass, bro. This thing recovers like instantly now. It used to have like 10 more frames of recovery. It actually is a pretty big change. Yeah, so Mappa Punch spaces out different, but you did take a huge nerf, which was his defense is a lot worse. So this move now no longer has invul, which a character not having invul super or a DP is actually really big in this game. It means they can't be pressured. It means if you have 100 meter with Slayer, you go from potentially TODing someone with super RC on defense to now you don't really have a good option, right? So really, I think Slayer is like, how good do you think his offense is, right? Do you think stuff like doing P Mappa into Dandy Step into mix up is strong? Do you think that's strong? Right? If you're new, like maybe you'll try to like check with the wrong button, like you'll try to check with a 2S and then you'll die. But there's also ways around it, right? A lot of Slayer's mix, you can argue that it's reactable, right? Like, so for example, the Dandy Steps, if he does like this hammer, or he does like this stuff, you could argue that like I can like do a option that covers multiple mix-up scenarios, right? So if I do like 5K and then throw, it covers both the Master Hammer and something like this, right? And so to me, he's a very reaction check character, and in order to beat Slayer, I think you have to be really cracked on defense, but it's certainly very doable, right? So to me, Slayer seems like a really good tournament character. He punishes people being sloppy on defense. I think those kind of characters, you can never really be sure how strong they are. Also, yeah, that's actually true. He has a lot lower health now too, which is puts him a little bit lower. Yeah, all right, so let's talk about my old mate. And I have been playing this character a little bit, mostly off stream. because I think the rule change is really cool, right? So the idea is that you can now angle Bridget's roll. So if you hit up, she does like a little like upward movement. If you go down, you kind of land a lot earlier, right? And you can actually do a lot of cool stuff with it, right? So if you go up and down, you can you can do some like really cool movement sequences like that. So you might think like, dang, she's gonna be so giga buff, like she's gonna be crazy good. But really, I don't know. I don't quite see it. I mean, you look at these tier lists. I don't think a lot of people see it, right? So we got Bridget bottom 10. Where are we at? Bottom 10, bottom 10, bottom 5, bottom 5, and bottom 10. So what happened? Should she be better? She has this cute little role change. You know, back when I was playing Bridget in season 2, she was, I think in my opinion, she's easily a top 10 character, right? So one is like, a lot of people actually think her old role was better. And the main reason is that you could jump cancel her role. Now you can't jump cancel it, right? Which means that like, for example, if someone just supers, or if they, you know, they're gonna commit to a 6P, or some other type of anti-air option, you can no longer just react and jump. The other thing is like on her mix-up, like your standard mix-up is still the best, right? Like this is still the best. You don't need like a low roll, high roll. There is some like really cute stuff you can do. Like you can like cross up, but like it's not very potent mix-up compared to her stable 50/50s. And the other thing is she didn't really get anything significantly buffed, right? You look at a lot of these top tiers, they all got increased power. Bridget didn't really get anything much to compensate. She's, besides this role, she's mostly the same character. Or I guess she got a slate buff on super, but the fact that everyone now has more health and Bridget basically does the same damage, so, and Bridget was already a low damage character, means she's gonna have to hit you even more in a game where you have Goldlewis that's literally TODing people off of like a behemoth typhoon, right? I think overall Bridget has more health, if I'm not mistaken, but like she didn't get as much as other people. Yeah, other people had like defense, like attack damage, or like most characters in this patch got buffed and Bridget kind of like stayed the same, right? And you could argue that Bridget didn't even get buffed. Ever since they removed her DPRC and how I say, season 3 came out with Wild Assault, like all these things kind of pushed her lower on the tier list to begin with. So by the end of season 3.5, she wasn't really a top 10 character, and this kind of just like pushed her even lower. All right, so let's talk about Eno. We have to refer to our GOAT Daru Eno. So if you want to learn more about Eno, please go sub to Daru. This is the GOAT. All right, so one of the things that Eno got was she has these like combos after HCL. So for example, she can kind of angle the HCL a little bit forward, which gives her actually new combo opportunities. See if we can find one here. Yeah, like that. But she kind of suffers the same problem as Bridget, where she just didn't get enough to compensate. She still has to hit you many more times than the opponent. So it's like, while she did get some nice changes, like they're all pretty minor compared to what other people got, and she's also kind of like in the same position as before, where she just can't keep up with the damage potential of the higher tiers, right? That's actually a very good observation. It looks like every character with low damage is weak now. Yeah, if you look at basically C and D tier here, it's basically every character that can't like 1 or 2 touch you, right? Axel, known as very low damage character, Zato, Milia, Faust, Dizzy, Eno. Bitman you can argue has somewhat decent damage. Yeah, I think that's a very good observation. I think really what this comes down to is like, if 2 characters have pretty similar neutral, or if they have pretty similar access to mix you up and that sort of thing, but one character only needs to open you up once and another character needs to open you up 3 times, that's a pretty big difference. Now, I want you guys to look at Rating Up. This is a site where basically you look at the like who plays online, and it kind of aggregates players' win total and gives a kind of ELO-like system to the players. The highest rated people are like the characters that are performing best, right? And if you look at the actual results of characters that are winning currently, obviously you have Ramlethal, like top 2 or 3 are Ram, but you know, she's gonna take that little bit of sword nerf. But you still have characters like, this is Zondo on Asuka. Actually, yeah, so there's gonna be a few issues with this, right? One, like most of this rating from Zondo here is before the patch came out, but you know, you can still see like it's still, Asuka's still looking pretty good according to rating update. You obviously have some characters here like Johnny, you have Ramlethal, you have some of the really Goldlewis, another Goldlewis, another Goldlewis, another Goldlewis, another Goldlewis. But you still have some players that are representing the low tiers, right? Fubuki VR, this guy's been super active. I just saw him in TNS. Yeah, top 11 with Testament, right? I want to see the most common characters. We can probably do this, right? 6 Asukas, 7 Kais, 10 Ramlethal. Oh wait, actually, there's only 7 Ramlethals. Yeah, there's only 3. There's only 2 Geos. Who's a character like that's not that popular? JC. There's only 1 Jacko? Oh no, they murdered her. Poor Jacko. They actually did murder Jacko, to be fair, right? They kind of took away her 2D. She used to get really good Oki situation off of most knockdowns with 2D. And Jacko was arguably top 10 last patch. And now, as you can see by this version, yeah, she kind of got cooked. She's like bottom 10 in like every tier list except this one. But yeah, all the other ones, she's bottom 10. All right, but you get the idea. It's pretty varied. What I'm trying to get at is top 100 in this game is still actually super varied, right? There's no character that's like utterly dominating the leaderboards, right? Yeah, Nago has 7. There's pretty much every character is represented in the top 100. Even someone like Faust. Faust has 5 representatives. Actually, Dizzy's probably the only character. Yeah, Dizzy's the only character not represented. I'm pretty sure. Goldlewis is like... No, Goldlewis only has 7. I mean, he's like disproportionately represented at the top. But yeah, there's 6 Goldlewises. Yeah, there's only 1 Sin player? Really? There's only 1 Sin in top 100? All right, this is all the proof you need. Oh, there's only 1 Sin in top 100, right? So despite Sin being top 3 in every tier list, the results still have yet to catch up, right? And if you look at some of the tournaments that are going on currently, for example, Tampa Never Sleeps, Tampa Never Sleeps been running tournaments. The same person, Jack, has won like literally 4 or 5 TNSs in a row, right? And if you compare this tournament with the actual tier list, we have a Johnny, we have a Ram, but you know, we have some of these mid-tier characters like Elphelt, Chip. They're all looking a little bit better than we'd expect, you know, based on tournament results and rating updates. So I think we'll be surprised by the actual results once we let this patch cook a little bit. Several of these characters that represent like really big changes, I think have a lot of potential, right? So Bedman, for example, got a lot of good buffs. Biken got crazy buffed, right? Especially Kabari out block stun is an insane change. Not to mention Yuzansen vacuuming is really strong. Elphelt we talked about. Chip, the tightrope, just represents so much potential. And then yeah, there's characters that we still don't know how they fit into the meta, right? So I think it's a little too early to do. I guess that's where I'm getting at. And let me know what you think down in the comments below. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening with this patch, especially now that we know that they're fixing the RAM bugs and whatnot that we saw earlier. All right, final thing we're gonna do in this video. One of these tier lists are mine. I want you to guess what tier list is mine. Again, we're trying to keep these all anonymous. This is tier list 1, tier list 2, tier list 3, tier list 4, and tier list 5. If you guys can guess which tier list is mine, I'll reveal the secrets. Bro, how'd you guys fucking guess that? God damn it. All right, number 3 is mine. Number 3 is mine. God fucking damn it, bro. Ain't no fucking way. Ain't no fucking way. How'd you guys catch me? Is it because I have Dizzy in her own tier? I know she's not that bad. It's just, you know, god damn it, bro. Yeah, Goldlewis at the top 2. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. I'm not gonna reveal who made which tier list, but I will say the other tier lists are by. Yeah, so we had one of the lists was by SQ, one by Keishu, one by Slash, and one by Leffen. Those are the other ones. God damn it, bro. I'm not saying who gave which because I did say anonymity, the power of anonymity in groups. All right. Anyways, yeah, that's the end of the video. Like, share, subscribe. Take care, y'all, and let me know what you think down in the comments below about this patch, and peace.